everybody? Welcome to BO Boys for Monday, September 30th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton. I'm in
Yeah,
bed.
yeah, I'm Pat, and we could all tell the energy from Clayton is it's just off the charts right now, and that's the kind of episode he's going to give us. So big weekend, Clayton. Here we go. We got robots at the top of the box office. We got robots at the bottom of the box office. We got a lot to get through. So from bed with this low energy, can you give us a nice low energy from bed plow for the weekend of Friday, September 27th?
Number one, The Wild Robot made $35 million in its first weekend of release. Number two, Beetlejuice made $16 million, down 38%. It lost 368 theaters. It's at $250.1 million in its fourth weekend of release. Number three, Transformers 1 made $9.3 million, down 62%. It lost 8 theaters. It's at $39.1 million in its second weekend of release. Number four, a newbie, which we didn't see coming, Devara Part 1 made $5.6 million in only 1,000 theaters. It it's first weekend. Number five, Speak No Evil, $4.3 million, down 26%. It lost 714 theaters. It's at $28.1 million in its third weekend. And here we are, number six, Megaflopolis, $4 million in its first weekend of release. That is your top six.
So you went to six there. I think we should just say the names of a few movies because we went through a lot of new releases last weekend, and they were listed as wide, but my God, some of these movies actually absolutely did not register at the box office this weekend. My Old Ass, Aubrey Plaza, My Old Ass went wide, and that made 2.2 million to finish in eighth place. By far the best of the newbies in that class because you had Azrael opening it. There's not even a number in the ranking next to it on the numbers here. This looks like it opened at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17th place with $300,000, 750 theaters. So it didn't actually open wide.
Yeah.
And then can you find
Bagman.
Bagman?
No. Bagman not to be seen. Bagman, where's Bagman? That's
Where
the
is
question
Bagman?
on everybody's lips this weekend. Where's Bagman?
Hashtag Where's Bagman? That was a Lionsgate release. Lionsgate was putting this out, and they were also putting out Megaflopolis this weekend. Did Lionsgate forget to
Forget.
put Bagman in theaters? And I
I,
know it was released because I listened to the great Brett of the New Flesh on his other podcast, his Roger and Me podcast. He reviewed Bagman. So Brett was out there reviewing a movie that he had seen, saying it would be out. And Lionsgate I mean, what do you think? What happened here? Lionsgate forgot to put it in the theaters?
yeah, I don't think they were able. I don't think they delivered the USB drive. I think they've just been too busy. I don't think they were able to deliver it. I think people were waiting for the Bagman USBs and they didn't come.
Uh, I mean, I'm seeing in this top 30 here movies called Faith of Angels from Purdy Distribution, Veteran 2, I the Executioner from Blue Fox Entertainment. You've got In the Summers from Music Box Films. You've got Tokyo Cowboy also from Purdy Distribution. So Purdy Distributions had two movies in the rankings that came in ahead of wherever Bagman is.
I mean,
This is mind blowing.
their bike messengers were on the ball. They got the USBs to where they needed to be.
It could be that. It absolutely could be that the USBs were not delivered by Lionsgate to these theaters. I do think, though, there's a chance where these theaters finally stood up to Lionsgate and said no, where they
We don't want
said,
it.
we don't want it. We don't want any more. You've been giving us crap, and not just crap, because crap is fine in the theaters if crap works, but crap that has been bombing week after week since Borderlands. And now this week, Lionsgate was trying to give them two different USBs filled with crap, Megaflopolis and Bagman. And I do think there's a chance these theaters said to the bike messengers, no, send that one back. Send that
Wow.
back to where you got it. I don't care where you got it, but take it back. I think that's what happened with Bagman. The theaters finally stood up to Lionsgate and said, no, we don't want this. We
And
won't do this anymore.
what probably happened to those USBs is like, hey, I'm supposed to deliver this package. If they don't want it, I'm throwing it in the gutter. I'm throwing it in the trash because
Yeah,
I'm not gonna take anything back. I'm not going back there.
I'm not going back to
I'm
Lionsgate. No,
going. I gotta take some papers to a lawyer somewhere.
right, right. Well, yeah, because their bag of stuff is not just Lionsgate. They're not. They don't work for Lionsgate. They work for a
No.
third party bike messenger agency.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just one of their clients. So they're like, fine, okay, you don't want it, then I'll just throw it in the trash. Great.
y-
So there's
yeah,
Bagman USBs in the trash in the gutter.
yeah, yeah. Because they're also Uber Eats. They're doing Uber Eats. They're
They're doing too much.
they're doing too much. Yeah. So they're like, I can't put this USB back in the bag. I got to go pick up food and then deliver the food.
Hmm.
And there's no room. There's no room for Bagman
This
anymore.
this
My
sushi's
my
gonna
bag has no room for
spoil.
Bagman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this sushi's gonna turn.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait here for Bagman while the sushi turns. No way.
No way. No way. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. I think now all these cities and all these sewers have a Bagman problem because
Uh
now
huh.
you've got all these Bagman USBs that are floating down in the sewers after bike messengers toss them there, and they're going to clog. All right,
Yeah.
that is an issue that Lionsgate needs to take responsibility for. Is when these sewer systems start clogging with Bagman USBs and people's toilets are backing up. Okay, that 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 has to be something that Lionsgate needs to rectify
Hmm.
because that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, because let's assume it was gonna open as big as Azrael. I would think it would open bigger, right?
I would
So we're
think,
talking 1,000 USBs.
yeah, yeah, 1,000 USBs in major market sewage systems.
Creating
Okay,
pseudo beaver dams
mm-hmm.
in
Yeah,
sewer pipes.
yeah, yeah. And those are not compostable. You know, those are not going to just
No.
disintegrate down there. Okay, they're going to stack up, and that's, you know, a Bagman USB could last 1,000 years.
I mean, their movies are compost, but their USBs aren't compostable.
Right. If only the USBs themselves were as soft and squishy and compostable as the plot of Borderlands. You know,
Mhm.
Borderlands famously, according to Danny Escamilaggi of I Screen, You Scream 4,
The number
for
4.
the number 4 movies, he said Borderlands was a movie that was based on a dog pooping.
Eli
Okay.
Roth's dog pooping, yeah.
So Borderlands as a plot, okay, that'll move through the sewer system real nice, real
Mhm.
nice. But
That's
this
what it's meant
Bagman
for.
USB, oh, of course. But this Bagman USB, that is getting clogged in a pipe,
Mhm.
okay? And then you flush that toilet, and I don't mean to be graphic, but you flush that toilet, that Bagman USB, that stack of them, that's pushing it right back towards you,
Mhm.
okay? So
Fountain
that's what
fountain
happened this
time.
weekend. Yeah. And that's the
So
type of thing that if you don't listen to the BO boys and the, you know, city officials don't listen to the BO boys, they don't know what's coming, okay? Because they're not looking at the numbers, looking at the top 10, top 20, top 30 and seeing how that's going to affect the local city sewage system. They don't know
mhm.
that, but it's coming. It's coming real fast. All right,
This
because
s
Monday morning there's a lot of toilets get flushed.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
that you know, the weekend reserve, that uh, everyone's got to get rid of something on a Monday morning before work starts, and they're all flushing the toilet at the same time. And those Bagman USBs, they're clogging those pipes. They're clogging those pipes.
Potential catastrophe for sure.
Yeah, yeah. This is a federal government may have to get involved after all these Bagman USBs collect in the sewer.
So, do we want to go from the bottom up here, or what do we feel like doing?
Yeah, we've got to move on. I mean, we listen. We sent up the warning signals here on Bagman, and I mean, we could do an hour. We could do a telethon on this
Hmm.
Bagman sewer situation, but we do have to move on. So let's move up. I mean, Azrael is what it is. Azrael, would I say, finished like 18th or 19th?
Oh my god, I can't
IFC
believe you're
Films.
starting back at Azrael. I thought we were gonna start with
Let's move
the
on.
big, the big flop.
Okay, let's move on. Let's stay on Lionsgate and move on to Megaflopolis. Okay, so this
Four
came in
mil, 4 mil.
4 mil, so it cried macho.
It was under Cry Macho, but technically we can call it a Cry Macho.
Yeah.
But here's the difference between it and Cry Macho.
Mm-hmm.
Cry Macho didn't have 100 million plus budget,
It did not. It did not.
and that's the difference. And
Right.
this movie had PLFs,
Mm.
and it didn't have all the PLFs, but it had some PLFs in the evening.
Yes.
And I don't think Cry Macho had any PLFs.
I don't think so. No. When did that open? September of 22, probably.
I think that was a 21 movie.
It was September 21, right? Because it was a day and date Max situation. It was the year of Warner Brothers putting everything day and date on Max. Yeah, I don't think it had PLFs. I mean, Megaflopolis did have the 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. PLFs in certain cities, such as the one we saw it in. We saw
Mhm.
a Thursday night 10 p.m. in AMC Lincoln. The IMAX in the
Yes.
nation. I mean, we're not critics, huh?
Huh?
But we did see this, and I mean, listen, I guess the theme of this episode, this was a shit show. Would you agree, as a not a critic, huh, that Megaflopolis as a movie was a shit show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Uh, well, just looking at these numbers here and we'll get to the demos and all that stuff, but AMC Lincoln Square, highest grossing cinema
Mm-hmm.
for this film. And we were in a packed theater. This IMAX theater was packed.
We had people sitting on both sides of us, unfortunately. It's not the
Mhm.
preferred way of sitting, but we were surrounded. And I would
Yeah,
say with this crowd, in some ways, that's how you would say it, is we were surrounded.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I mean, m not be critical because 'cause we're not critics, like you said, huh?
Huh?
There wasn't much to enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Here is my take on what this was, and the response it got. Francis Ford Coppola, one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, spent $100 million, sold many of his grapes, not all, but a significant amount of his grapes to fund this movie. And in the end, what he made was Francis Ford Coppola's The Room. Francis
Mm,
Ford Coppola's Neil Breen's Fateful Findings. That is, in the end, and we're not a critic, huh?
huh.
But Megaflopolis was a Tommy Wiseau film by way of Francis Ford Coppola, and that's the response it got in the theater. I would say 5 minutes into this movie, everyone there, and this is at 10 p.m. New York City. We're all sophisticated. We're all close to elites. You know, we're coming there looking to honor a master. But pretty quickly, this crowd knew, oh, we're gonna laugh at the screen. We're just waiting for Adam Driver to say, "Oh, hi, Mark." That is immediately what this movie pulled from everyone, because that's what it was. I mean, what did you take on our boots on the ground perception of the audience there? Does that seem accurate, that this was treated as, "Oh, hi, Mark," via Adam Driver and Francis Ford Coppola?
I would say, to give the crowd the benefit of the doubt, I do think a lot of them were there for the same purpose as us initially
Mhm.
to be like, he's a master. He got
Yep.
this movie in theaters, which is huge because there's
Yeah.
so many people who can't get. I mean, there's so many uh, just icons who can't get their movies made and put into theaters at this point. So this is an amazing achievement right now.
Right.
So I think we all went into it being like, this can't be that terrible.
Right.
And then it was laughable. You could feel the change in the audience.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll just say for the people who have seen this movie and the people who will see the clips online, which is I think there are going to be a lot of clips online coming up.
Yeah. There's gonna be a lot of clubs.
What do you think of this boner? I'm paraphrasing,
Right.
but the scene
Yep.
where there is somebody who is indicating that they have a huge boner.
Yeah. And we won't say his name, but an elderly gentleman who is in his second major movie of the last month or so.
And this is
Goes,
somebody who you would put in the acting Hall of Fame, probably.
yeah, yeah. You'd put him. I mean, listen, he's not gonna have his own room. He's not gonna have a bust, I would say, but
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
picture in the Hall of Fame. But definitely an old man who's having a moment at the box
Yeah.
office.
And I think that that scene is up there with any of those s scenes from The Room or
Yes.
Birdemic or Fateful Findings. Like, it
Yes.
is at that level.
Yes. Yes. This is up there with tossing the football in the room for
Mhm.
sure. There are I would say the room is far more entertaining, a far more
Yeah.
entertaining version of the room than Megaflopolis is a version of the room. There's just more good stuff to dig into in the room or Fateful Findings. Um, but Megaflopolis has several of those scenes. And the what do you think of my boner? That could hang with any scene in the room. That's for sure.
So, we were talking about this when we left the theater, and we
Mhm.
wanted to save it for the podcast, which we
Yeah.
should. Who is hurt the most by this? Inevitable flop. I mean, it was inevitable. They knew it was gonna flop. It was just how
Yeah.
big. So, was it gonna be 6? Was it gonna be 5? Was it gonna be 4? And Lionsgate, that's what's been trumpeted everywhere is that Lionsgate has very little skin in this game. It's not gonna be damaged by it monetarily because it was just releasing it. However, of course, we were talking about Lionsgate and how people's perception of Lionsgate now is that they're just releasing total crap week in and week out. So I think this does hurt them financially in the long run, not
Mhm.
necessarily immediately, right?
Mhm. Yes.
But other than Lionsgate, of the people involved in this movie, actors and director, who does this hurt the most? I think we can go through some of these people and say whether it hurts them or I mean,
Or
can't
helps
necessarily say
them
it
maybe.
helps them maybe, but we don't wanna preclude that because maybe one
Right.
of us will think this helps someone.
Okay, I think we're gonna agree on this. Who it hurts the most?
Uh-huh.
Adam Driver.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that
100%.
it is
100.
time to have a discussion. 100. I think it is time to have a discussion with Adam Driver.
Uh-huh.
Um, I mean,
Is daddy
this
home?
this is getting at a Daddy is home. All
Okay.
right. Adam Driver, he pulls up in his driveway. He takes the keys out of the ignition, closes the door, walks into his house, looks, sees a Barca lounger that hadn't been in his house previously. The man did not have a Barca lounger, but
No.
there's a Barca lounger there. It spins around because it's one of those, high price Barca loungers that got the wheel at the bottom. It spins around, and sitting on that Barca lounger is Daddy.
Daddy's home.
Daddy is home.
He
Daddy's
knows
home, Adam
immediately,
Driver.
though.
As soon as he sees the Barca lounger,
He knows
because he
daddy's home.
knows he knows that the interior designer he paid a lot of money for. He knows she did not put a Barca lounger in his house.
Mm-mm.
So the second he sees the back of a Barca lounger, he knows it's Joe Pesci walking into the empty garage in Goodfellas. Oh
Mm.
no. Oh no. And
Yeah.
there he is, Daddy, here to talk about Adam Driver's career and Adam Driver's box office. This is bad.
Mhm.
And there's already the defense out there of Adam Driver saying, "Look at all the masters he's working with. His people are getting him to work with all these masters." He did a what did he do a Ridley Scott movie? He did
Yeah.
Michael Mann movie. He did the Ridley Scott movie. We liked
Really
it for what it
very
was.
good. Oh, I like that movie a lot, and I think he was
What is
really
that?
good
The
in it.
Affleck and I can't think of the name of it
The
right now.
Last
Well,
Duel.
Last Duel, and he also did House of Gucci. So he did
Hasaguchi.
2 Ridley Scott movies. He did a Michael Mann movie.
Ferrari.
Uh, he did Ferrari. He did, I mean, he's done several Noah Baumbach movies, but one of them was White Noise, which, I mean, that doesn't count because there was no box office on that one.
Yeah.
That's not a stinker there. And here he's done a Francis Ford Coppola movie. So there's that. He's doing movies with masters. He's doing movies with them that are going to be at the bottom of their resumes. He's
Yes.
not doing Alien with Ridley Scott. He's not doing Heat with Michael Mann. He's not in Godfather 2 or The Conversation with Coppola. He's doing their end of career, bottom of the barrel movies.
I mean, to
And
be devil's advocate, though, they are not gonna have anything like that. I mean, I
right,
think that Ridley
right. He
Scott,
can't
as
go
much
back in
as
time. He can't go back in
yeah,
time. Sure.
Ridley Scott, The Last Duel, I think, was a really high quality movie for his output.
Hmm.
And I think as much as we get on the rock for not working with auteurs, something like this maybe gives you pause to think, wait, so did we want The Rock to be in Megalopolis? Did we want The Rock to be in Ferrari? Like, not that these are, I mean, Megaflopolis is a terrible movie, but Ferrari was fine,
Yeah.
but it's like maybe the problem is there's no new auteurs. There's no auteurs that are at this level. Maybe, Tarantino is one, right? But getting in a Tarantino movie, unless you're the daughter of a star and he wants you to play one of Manson family, it's pretty hard to get a gig there. There's only
Well,
so many
well,
spaces for actors in Tarantino movies.
I think it's less him wanting to do movies with these big directors. Fine, of course. Great. And he's getting his name. He's getting his Star Wars cred in terms of like, hey, that's a Star Wars guy, so we could
Oh, that's right, he did work with
finance this or
Abrams.
release
He
this.
did work with
He,
Abrams.
he did work with
The
another
auteur that
auteur.
is J.J. Abrams.
But when you look at Adam Driver's career, other than doing these auteur movies that for the most part haven't worked, House of Gucci, although that, came out pandemic-y times like with Last Duel, he's also doing stuff like a 65. So he's also not able to pick the box office movies, the sort of, all right, I'll do this one for the masses. And then for the masses, he does 65, the boring dinosaur space movie. Somehow a dinosaur space movie that was so boring, everyone rejected it. That's what he's
Uh-huh.
choosing otherwise. So now Adam Driver is in this situation where he's choosing the lesser movies from these auteurs to work with them. He's choosing the terrible, I'll do this one for them type of movies like 65. So, where is the good stuff here? Where is the stuff that people want? And we're not critics, huh? But I'm just going to
Huh.
say it. He's terrible in Megaflopolis. And I think that's the other problem here. And that's the thing that people don't want to say. But
Uh-huh.
this is the type of movie that I think is finally going to make people think, is he actually good? And of course he is. Marriage Story, he should have won the Oscar. He's had great performances. I mean, he's one of if not the best, he's a top 3 girl on Girls.
Yeah.
He's one of the
Yeah,
best
he's a top 3
girls,
girl.
right? And you back in the day, uh, you had a gig ranking the girls every week, doing power rankings for the girls. That was,
Yep.
a gig that you had.
Back in my
And
blogger days.
yep. And Adam Driver was always at the top of that list. His
Yep.
character, he's great.
Very close.
But when you watch him in Megaflopolis, and you're having that comparison in your head of, is he great? Is he the next De Niro? Or is he now Tommy Wiseau?
Mhm.
Is he Neil Breen? And that is not where you want to be if you're Adam Driver. And
No.
Daddy's looking at him, and he walks in that door, and Daddy spins around on the Barca Lounger, and he looks him right in the eyes, and he goes, "So you're just fucking Tommy Wiseau now?
Yeah.
You're just I raised you all those years so that you could be Neil Breen at the end of Fateful Findings."
Mhm.
And Daddy, he's got that look in his eye, because there's no father who wants to look at their son, their adult son, and say, all these years and you just grown up to become Tommy Wiseau.
Mhm.
But
It's
that's
the
where we're at with him.
disappointment. I mean,
Right.
there's anger there, obviously, because it's daddy. So it's
Mhm.
there's a very strong undercurrent of anger. Like, don't think he's not angry, but he's mostly disappointed, which is the
Right.
saddest thing, but also
Right.
very angry at the same time.
Very angry. Well, I mean, listen, Daddy never went to therapy, and Daddy doesn't know how to control his emotions. So
And
the
well, that's
sadness
why he
turns into
really,
anger.
yeah, and that's why he really is who he is and able to get the results that he gets.
Right, right, right. But that's also why the armrest of the Barca Lounger is ripped off.
It's torn up. Yeah, it's torn up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
torn up. It's like you think a cat got at it, but no, there's never been a cat. Believe me, there's
So
never been a cat.
no, no. So Adam Driver truly is terrible in this movie, not even being a critic, huh?
Huh.
And it does, like you said, make you question whether he was ever good, which we know he was because Marriage Story, he should have won that Oscar.
Right.
So from here,
Mhm.
where does he go? Who hires him? Does he retreat to franchise?
That's the thing is if you're putting your career together like a Leo was all these years, and you're able to make the auteur movies that work, because Leo,
Hmm.
he ran that playbook in the 2000s. He ran the playbook of, I'm going to make movies with your Spielbergs and your Scorseses and uh, your top directors, your Tarantinos. And those movies were hits and got him Oscar noms. And those movies worked. And he was able to avoid putting on the cape, putting on the cowl, never had to do a superhero movie, never had to do a Star Wars movie, never had to do a Star Trek movie. He was able to just do adult movies that worked. And Adam Driver, in a perfect world, he takes that mantle and he's doing adult movies with real directors that work and never has to put on a cape and a cowl. But that's not what happened. And now he's in a position where, is that I mean, is daddy sitting there, do you think, in the Barca Lounger, and then he's got a handful of cloth and he tosses it at Adam Driver and he says, "Put it the fuck on." And then Adam Driver looks down and it's a cape and a cowl.
Wow.
And put it on. Put it on. Put it on. Adam, put it on. Put it the fuck on.
Wow. He's so coarse.
He's daddy.
I know.
He
Uh,
comes from a different time. He comes from a different time.
it is a different time. Is Adam Driver gonna be an effing Green Lantern? Are we gonna see in the next few
Jesus.
weeks this announcement? Because all you're seeing is about these Green Lanterns. There's several Green Lanterns. People have turned down the Green Lantern. We're seeing a lot of older stars who don't have much else going on
Mhm.
picking up the rings to be lanterns, supposedly. Is Adam Driver gonna get stuck being an effing Green Lantern? because
Wow.
that's where it's headed. That's where it's headed. This guy's gonna be an effing Green Lantern.
Wow.
I saw
Yeah, I mean,
Josh Brolin being talked about as a Green Lantern.
yeah, I mean, I think that he's not gonna be Mr. Fantastic, right? That has already been cast? Is
It's already
that,
been cast by,
that's already been
Pedro
cast?
Pascal.
Right. I mean, I'm looking at Adam Driver's IMDb, and Heat 2 pre-production, that's never gonna happen. I mean, let's just sorry for everyone at The Ringer who's listening to this, but Heat 2 will never be an actual movie. It's not gonna happen.
You don't think it
Um,
actually happens?
no, I do not think that actually happens.
Mhm.
He's rumored for young Neil. Hey, I'd love to see it happen. I'm not gonna do, we're not gonna do 4 2-hour podcasts about that movie, but I like that movie. Heat's good. It's a good movie. But while Daddy's here, and I'm sure Daddy would want it to happen. He's seen
Mhm.
Heat on cable, parts of it, you know, dozens of times. But if you ask Daddy, it's not gonna fucking happen. Don't bring it up again.
He's seen
That's
that
what Daddy.
shootout like a million times, Daddy.
He's seen the shootout a lot. I don't think he's seen the first half hour. He's only maybe seen once or twice.
And he's seen You Got a Great Ass,
Yes,
because
yes.
that's his
Well,
ringtone.
yeah. So, but Daddy would say Heat 2's not going to happen. I'm seeing something else called the Carnival at the End of the Days. Okay, this is also not going to happen. It's a Terry Gilliam directed movie.
Well, that's the other guy that he's worked with a ton, is
Right,
Terry Gilliam, because
right.
he was in the movie that Terry was trying to get made forever,
Okay.
Don Quixote. Wasn't he in Don Quixote?
He was in the Don Quixote movie. Yeah, and I think that was them having a laugh. That
Uh-huh.
was them
Taking a
having a
piss.
laugh. This Carnival at the End of the Days, and again, I'm looking at IMDb, so God knows how reliable this is, but this is described as a Terry Gilliam directed movie starring Jeff Bridges, Adam Driver, and Johnny Depp. This is not going to happen. This is not
This
going to be
guy's working with Depp.
that. That's
Why is this guy
pretty. And then something called Father, Mother, Sister, Brother says it's in post production, so I guess that will happen. And this is a Jim Jarmusch movie, which is great. I mean,
He's worked with Jarmusch before too, in Patterson, a movie that I really liked, but at the level that you make that sort of movie, right?
exactly. That's the thing. Make the Jim Jarmusch movies, because a Jim Jarmusch movie is always going to be at the level it should be in terms of
Yes.
release, budget, all that. Please. I'm not we're not Daddy is not saying stop doing Jim Jarmusch movies. Daddy doesn't know who Jim Jarmusch is. So
No.
Daddy doesn't care. Okay. But to him that's it's Daddy's going to say you're hanging out with your friends too much in
Yeah.
terms of Jim Jarmusch. Daddy's going to look at Adam Driver and say, Jim Jarmusch, why are you still hanging out with that guy all the time?
Mhm.
He's a bad influence on you, is what Daddy's going to say. Obviously, we don't think that. We love Jim Jarmusch as a filmmaker, NYU guy, great. But Daddy's going to say, why are you hanging out with him so much? And
Yeah.
and that's where Adam Driver's out at right now in terms of his career. Is he hanging out with his friends too much?
Mhm.
And hanging out with these old burnouts,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
He's
why are you
hanging
hanging
out
out
with
with
these
these
old
old
burnouts.
pervs?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which we can frankly say Coppola is now in the realm of old perv. We've seen this movie, he is an old perv.
He's an I mean, what do you think of my boner? That that is something to consider for the
Uh-huh.
estate.
Consider the
Consider that for
boner.
the heads. Consider the boner and consider what do you think of this boner for the headstone?
Mhm. And then just put a little pile of dirt
Mhm.
where appropriate.
Yeah, stack the dirt in front of the tombstone. What do you think of this boner?
Actually, do that for me.
Okay. I mean, I definitely am the one who's going to be left with this task of burying you.
Oh,
Let's
100%.
yeah.
The
This is
task
my
and the
burden.
tab
Yeah, I mean, that's when the BO Boys starts a Patreon, is the day
for
you
my
go.
funeral costs,
Yeah. Yeah, we'll need the listeners to cover those costs.
for
It's
sure.
basically gonna be either join the Patreon or it's a pine box.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
want
exactly.
if honestly, listeners, if you want Clayton to end up in anything other than a bag, then you better join the Patreon when that day comes.
Talking about Bagman.
Yeah.
I'd be
That's
lucky
our
to have a bag as nice as Bagman's bag to get stuffed into.
Oh, yeah, you're going to a tool duffel bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so
S
that's but consider Coppola, definitely consider, what do you think of this boner on the tombstone?
Now, okay, so we talked about Megaflopolis and, Adam Driver, we're gonna be following his career, whether it's in the dumpster or he somehow finds a way to save it. He's in
Ca
dire straits at the moment,
can I throw
but
this out here as the nightmare situation, even more than ending up a Green Lantern?
ugh,
I think you know what I'm gonna say. Is there a chance that the next move is he ends up on Streamo? And not Streamo movies, but Streamo series. He's avoided that the way Leo has been able to avoid it. And
I mean,
is there a chance it's prestige, quote unquote, as if there is such a thing, prestige Streamo, Adam Driver playing some tech guy of the moment who invented a thing and everyone thought the thing would be good and then the thing was bad and then here's 8 episodes on how the thing the tech guy invented went from good to bad. Here is the thing. God, this grosses me out to say any of this in terms of Adam Driver's career. Are we going to see a 6 episode Streamo series Adam Driver as Elon?
oh god,
I,
Uncraftable
I,
TV Plus,
yeah.
or even worse, Amazon. I
Oh
mean,
God.
if you woulda asked me
God
that
damn.
if you woulda asked me that even a year ago, I'd say no.
Yeah.
But now that you're asking me that, I would say the percent chance is 85.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
I think that's gonna happen. I think, yeah, 6 episode series, Elon Musk,
Oh,
played by Adam Driver, on Amazon.
on Amazon. Well, it would be on Amazon because they are going to say, yeah, this will be fun. We'll put this we'll put this out there to mess with our rival or whatever they all think of each other as, these
Yeah.
guys.
Um,
My
yeah.
God, it's a possibility. It's a possibility.
So,
Oof. Wow.
uh,
Sobering thought right there. This
it
I
is
mean, this
it's
has been a tough episode. We start the episode with the whole bagman in the sewer situation, toilets clogging up every flush. And now we got Adam Driver on Streamo playing Elon. My
well,
God.
things are only gonna get worse, Pat, because let's jump to Transformers 1,
Okay.
and we can do this quickly because last episode, I said, "Dig the hole."
Mm-hmm.
Dig the
Mm-hmm.
hole, and
Mm-hmm.
you were smart about it. You said, "We don't have to throw Transformers in the hole yet. Dig the
Yep.
hole."
Leave the hole. We could always use a hole in the desert. You could always
Well,
find something to put in a hole.
it looks like what we're gonna put in that hole is Transformers
Oh my
as
God. Yeah.
an IP.
Yep.
Down 62%.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is another failure, like I said, in a line of Transformers failure. There is no iteration of Transformers at the box office, at
Mm-hmm.
the theater that people want.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of excuses. Well, was it a kids movie? Was it an adult movie? Because I saw it and it was more adult, blah blah. Kids watch kids watch movies that have adult themes, that have adult drama. The fact that this movie ended up being a little bit more quote unquote adult than people were expecting does not preclude it from being a hit. because look at the
Mhm.
Pixar movies. The Pixar movies are for Pixar perverts. They're for adults, and kids love them because of the flashing lights and stuff.
Yeah.
So that, if anything, is the perfect sort of movie because adults can like it and kids can like it, but nobody wants this.
Nobody wants this. I mean, Beetlejuice is the example. That movie's now at 250 million domestic. Obviously, adults, people wanted that big comedy, but kids have been going to this. And I could tell you that because yesterday, for the second time, I saw Beetlejuice in theaters, and I went with a couple of rats. I
Yep.
went with a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old rat. They both really loved it. And you know who loved it the most? The 4-year-old. And watching a movie in which a woman is stapling her body parts onto herself and mutant babies and everyone's streaming goo, and it is a scary movie for a kid, and the kid loved it because it was a good movie and it was an IP that kid wanted.
Mhm.
Okay, and it may have been scary IP, but it is an IP that the kids wanted and the kids loved it. And Transformers is not an IP that kids wanted, and it's
No.
not an IP that even uh comic book collector adults wanted.
Mhm.
It is over. It is over for the Transformers. You cannot make and release a Transformers movie. I hesitate to say ever again on anything because life is long and IPs need to be mined.
Yeah.
And, you know, I do think there's a future in which either the robot or alien overlords are looking for some IP to mine, and eventually they'll hit Transformers and they'll like tap it and they'll see that it's robot stuff and that'll appeal to them, and they'll tap it and they'll mine it. But I think in our lifetime, or at least the next 10, 15 years, I don't think you could make a Transformers movie again. I don't even think you could bring that to a development executive at this point. It's
Yeah,
over.
I
It's over.
it is over theatrically for Transformers. You can't
Mhm.
there's no iteration left. So that I mean, wow. So we
Buried.
buried
We
Transformers today. That is a buried IP. That is a no IP is ever dead. They're just buried
Right.
alive.
Oh, of course. He's still breathing.
Mhm.
He's still breathing. Come on. Come on. He's still breathing.
Right next to Joe.
Yeah.
Transformers and Joe talking to each other from their graves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being like,
I mean,
I can't breathe either."
that's the thing. The other victim of Transformers 1 bombing so hard is GI Joe. Because in many ways GI Joe would always have a reprieve if the Transformers IP stayed strong and there was someone out there who wanted to team them up.
Yeah.
And obviously there was the attempt at the end of that
Rise
Transformers
of the
Rise of the
Beast.
Beast that, hey, look down at that lab. We've got a bunch of GI Joes hanging out there. What do you think of teaming up? And people rejected that stinger, and it was an all-time laugh of a stinger. But that's what Joe's hope has always clung to. He's always been waiting on death row, hoping to get that call, not from the governor, but from Transformers saying, all right, fine, meet me down at the lot. My IP is strong enough that I snuck you in. I
Yeah.
snuck you in. But
Yeah.
Transformers can't do that anymore. Transformers now, side by side, one whole Transformers, one whole is GI Joe,
Yeah.
and they're both being buried alive.
And Joe is I was talking about they're talking to each other through their graves. Joe says to Transformers, "You killed me.
You killed me.
You killed me."
And
I
Transformers saying you killed yourself. Let's be
yeah,
real. You killed
yeah.
yourself.
Which I agree with Transformers, but Joe doesn't feel that way. Joe is upset. Joe thought there was a chance
Yeah,
that the bell was gonna get rung on that grave and he was gonna get dug up,
right.
and that's not happening. I mean,
That's not happening.
I
It's
think that
not
is
happening.
the biggest loser of all this is GI Joe because it is
Yeah,
definitively dead.
yeah. That is a tough place for any team. And I don't know if you could ever call Transformers and GI Joe a team, They never really were. But for the purpose here, let's say they're a team. For a team to end up in side by side graves arguing with each other, that is the worst case scenario. It's the worst case scenario for us.
Mhm.
Um, listen, I mean, we'd be in side by side graves. You'd be in a bag. I'm gonna be in a nice coffin.
Yeah.
But still, the idea of us arguing with each other at that point, that is not where you want to be.
Yeah.
That is not where you want to be. Whose fault it is that we're here? And
Exactly,
you're
exactly.
yelling through a bag. I'm yelling through a very, very nice casket. Very nice. Um, but I mean, this drop was the end. 62%, 9.3 million. That is there is no coming back from this. There will not be a third weekend that saves this. There is no audience for this. Next weekend, this is going to drop, I'd say the same. It's going to drop another 50-60%. It'll make like 4 million.
Mhm.
It's over. It's over.
It's
People did not want. And now let's get into the number one, because I think this number one really shows how over it is for the Transformers, because this was not a box office environment in which people said we don't want robots. It,
yes.
it was not a box office environment where people said we don't want animated robots.
Mhm.
This was a box office environment in which people would love to have an animated robot at the top. Animated robots are healthy. People did
Mhm.
not want Transformers, but they
That's the
wanted
thing.
this wild robot, Clayton.
Well, that's the thing, and I'm not stumping for this, but if WALL-E 2 came out,
Mhm.
people would be crazy for that WALL-E. So
Uh,
it is a Transformers. It's a rejection of Transformers. But let's not talk Transformers. Let's not talk WALL-E. Let's talk Wild Robot.
yeah, the new
35,
robot.
35 mil,
Mhm.
which was more than they expected. This
Yeah.
thing did really well on very good reviews.
Yep.
It's got an A cinema score, 96% positive recommend
Mhm.
on ComScore.
Mhm.
It is the 3rd largest opening for an animated movie in September,
Mhm.
and I think this movie has, I mean, we're hearing a lot of the buzz about this for Oscars,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's gonna help where it's gonna help. Uh, let's see. Why do
This could
people
be your
see this
winner.
movie?
This could be your best animated feature winner, Wild Robot. And I think this box office is a huge part of it,
Yeah.
because Inside Out 2, of course, is going to be one of the biggest movies of the years. Billion Dollar Baby, huge hit. A lot of ways was the rebirth of the summer, was when Inside Out 2 came out in June.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think that feels like the movie that is going to win Best Animated Feature. And of course, I'm sure there's tiny animated movies that are going to come out that the critics are going to say this should, best movie of the year, whatever.
Yeah.
But Wild Robot being a hit is, I think, really going to help it win that Oscar, because then it's going to be like, hey, now I get to vote for a movie that also made us a bunch of money, which any
Yes.
Oscar voter is going to be swayed by.
Now, this is from Chris Sanders. I mean, it's DreamWorks, but Chris Sanders is the guy behind this who did
Mhm.
Lilo and Stitch,
Yep.
How to Train Your Dragon, and The Croods.
And the Croods. Yeah. This
Yeah.
guy makes
So
hits, but he makes hits that people like.
that's the thing. And I know they're not original because they're based on books, but to
Mhm.
most people, they're original. Now, The
Right.
Wild Robot is based on a book, but it's not a book that you saw at every airport in America. So
Grisham
it's
didn't
as
write The Wild Robot. Yeah.
no, it's as close enough to original as we're probably gonna get. And
Mhm.
so the fact that this did as well as it did is is great.
It's great. It's great. It's great. It shows people want new. They want exciting. They don't want same old. They want the robot of the moment.
Uh-huh.
And the robot of the moment does not turn into a truck. It doesn't turn. into a motorcycle. The robot of the moment is out there just being wild, running through the fields, which
Mhm.
you and I, because we shouldn't, have not really spent any time trying to figure out what this wild robot movie actually is or is about. And we will
Yeah.
never see it.
No. No.
Um, and I know I won't see it because I have rats in my life who I hold dear. They don't have interest in a boy robot movie. So I will
Okay.
never end up having to see it.
Is it a
Um,
boy robot?
I, I think it's a and anyone could see anything, and I'm sure everyone's seen this wild robot. But what I know is the rats in my life do not have interest in this. Well, the one I know they have no interest in because this the trailer did show before Beetlejuice yesterday. Was the trailer for Transformers 1 actually showed yesterday,
Uh-huh.
and they could not have. They wanted to get up and use the bathroom again, and they just went. Okay, they had just went. They did not
Uh-huh.
want to see a second of this Transformers.
Wow.
Um, so that's damning for Transformers. Here's it. I'll say I probably won't end up seeing Wild Robot. We don't really know what is in this movie, but we don't have to know because all we know is it's new, it's wild, and it's the robots that people want these days. So
Yeah.
beyond that, the BO boys don't have to, you know, uh, go into depth on what the plot of this wild robot is.
So, but main voice Lupita Nyong'o
Yep. Speak on it.
having a great year. And I think I think the fact that she voiced this robot, I believe she's the voice of the robot. That's why I'm saying I don't necessarily know what the gender of the robot. I mean, here's the
You're
thing.
right. You're
I
right.
don't think
You're
it
right.
matters what the gender of the robot is.
I
Uh,
do think it matters though that she is the voice because she lets you know that this is going to be a high quality picture. And the legend Scott Mendelson, who's going to be a guest in 1 week at our live show in Los Angeles, first ever BO Boys Live. Scott Mendelson will be there. Scott Mendelson has talked a lot about how Lupita Nyong'o is, if not a butts in the seats movie star, she is an A plus 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 value add. And what she does is let people know this thing is going to be good because she doesn't do tons of movies. She's very selective. And when she's in something, you know this is the thing that she chose to be in. I think audiences know that now. And so her being
mhm.
the lead of Wild Robot let everyone know, hey, this is something because Lupita has decided to be in it.
Yeah.
In a
Yeah.
way that, I mean, my God, Chris Hemsworth is the voice of Transformers 1.
Yeah.
Is there ever a bigger warning signal to audiences that this is going to be a disaster than Chris Hemsworth's name being in there?
I
He
wish
is, my
I wish
God, how finished is this guy? This is out of control. That Transformers 1 starring him bombed as hard as it has.
yeah. I think this guy wow. I
Wow.
mean,
Wow.
it's over. I mean, it's over.
Our GI Joe and Transformers, they're in the side by side graves. They're dirt's being poured on them. And it's amazing that they are staying, they're not fighting it. They're laying there. Because
No, they know. But I mean, you just know.
well, they know, but they're there's just a two guys from the old neighborhood holding pistols in one hand, and they're looking at the newspaper in the other. They're looking at the results from the racetrack in the other hand. And Joe and Transformer are just laying there. They're not even making a move as the dirt's being poured on them. But do you think that the two of them are yelling, Hemsworth should be in here with us?
I think
Not
so.
that not that even that we should be let out, but there should be a third grave for Hemsworth. That's what they're saying. We're not saying that because, we're not advocate, but Transformers and G.I. Joe, they're yelling, Hemsworth should be in here with us.
Yeah, and I think they're like, Where listen, it's on the docket. He still has Extraction. I know
Mm,
that's Streamo,
the
but
Streamo.
he's still got Extraction 3 possible, right? I mean, that's the thing is that's where they go to die. Like Mark
Yeah,
Wahlberg, we'll see where how Flight Plan does or whatever,
in
but
January. It's been pushed back. It was supposed to come out in October, and it's official for January now.
but he they haven't dug a grave for these guys yet because they're dead on streaming. Like,
Right,
their careers are on streaming, which is you might as well be dead.
right,
Because
right,
what's gonna happen with these streaming services is that they're realizing that, the model that works is cheapo movies with no stars, because
right,
these big splashy, "We have to pay Mark Wahlberg $20 million up front," that isn't working, and it's not gonna continue to work, and so
right.
that's why
Wolves.
those are gonna dry up. The
Yeah.
extractions are gonna dry up. So, Chrissy Hemme
Wow.
could end up Chris Hemsworth, because 'cause we're not scared anymore.
We're not
He could
scared of
end
you.
up being in a this guy could do, in a traveling Thunder Down Under. I mean, you could see him
Yeah,
stripping for a living at a
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah.
He's gonna be not a Chippendales movie, he will be a Chippendale dancer.
He'll be a Chippendales dancer. Yeah, yeah. Wow. But you know what? This Wild Robot starring Lupita, whatever that movie's about, doesn't matter. It's a hit, and it's what people wanted. And now it's got a nice clear path to
People
even an Oscar nom nom nom, and maybe the Oscar win because of
Mhm.
how big the box office is. And it's gonna have a nice October, I think, because October does not have any cheese for these rats. It's a lot of horror. It's Joker and it's Terrifier 3. So it's a lot of clowns,
Uh-huh.
and the kids don't want the clowns. They want this Wild Robot. So I think Wild Robot is going to have a great October. It's going to
Yes.
have a real nice runway until you get to Wicked and Moana 2 and the big family movies in November. But until then, Wild Robot it's gonna be eaten up there. It's
Yeah.
gonna be eaten up there. Um, so yeah, I think that is really anything else you think we have to cover in this box office?
I don't think we have to cover anything in the box
I
office
don't
for
think so
sure.
either. Yeah, I think we've really covered it. A couple of quick email stuff. Wanna be oh boy Nick. He said, subject, my old ass opens wide this weekend. And then he says, I think we all know the ass bit was touch and go and eventually went down in flames. I know you don't need notes, but my old ass opens wide this weekend. Would have been a safe landing. Remember to keep it tight, boys. From Nick. Thank you, Nick. Thank
Thank you,
you,
Nick.
Nick. And then we've got some other ones. We got a great. We'll get into this at some point. I don't think we could do it now, but the great wannabe oh boy Max sent us a TIFF recap. He was at the Toronto International Film Festival. Uh, Sent us a great recap of movies there. This might be. We may have to get in contact with this Max. Might be a person to talk to on the show because he's going to festivals
Mhm.
and festival reports in person on the show might be something we need to look into. So Max, expect a reply on your emails, and we might need to
Yeah.
talk to you one on one. That may be a thing. Um, Live show, Clayton, next week, Los Angeles. Get your tickets. If you live in the LA area, if you know someone in the LA area, there's still some tickets left. It's going to be Scott Mendelson and Jeff Bock on stage together for the first time.
Mhm.
Maybe meeting in person for the first time. I don't know if these two men have ever broke bread before,
Mhm.
and that's going to happen on stage in LA. We have so much planned.
Uh,
I am
Pat, you
up
should
all
bring
night
one of your
editing these videos.
French baguettes. You should bring one of your French baguettes so they can tear it in 2. Break some bread.
Yeah, I may have to make a quick Paris run before I go to LA.
Oh god, yeah, I know. You're gonna have to go to
It,
Paris.
it can't be, it's got to be the real thing. It's got to be the real thing. So maybe it. Listen, that's a long flight, New York to Paris to LA, but I got to have the real baguettes if I'm doing this. So LA show next Tuesday, October 8th, Los Angeles, Yard Theater. Tickets in the show notes. Get them now. Tell your friends who are in LA. Final week. This is it. And then BO Boys on stage. Email us, theboboyspodcast at gmail.com. We got some emails we got to get to. We will get to them. So send us your emails, theboboyspodcast gmail.com. Social media at the BO Boys Pod. And the Instagram is live. It is hopping. We're getting the videos on there. Wannabe senior intern Christopher killing it with the vertical videos on TikTok, which is staying, Instagram, which is new, Twitter X, which may be in its final days. Yeah, Clayton's given the cutthroat sign.
Dig a
So
hole.
dig a hole for the Twitter X BO Boys account. I think that is the case. But Instagram and TikTok thriving. So join us there at the BO Boys Pod. Of course, the Substack will be back fully operational very soon, but we're working night and day on these live shows. I'm cutting video. Clayton is out there doing his thing. These live shows are taking up so much of our time right now, but we will get back to the Substack, so make sure to still subscribe. Of course, we are YouTubers. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
So watch every episode of the show on the BO Boys YouTube network. Of course, if you're only listening to the podcast, you're only getting half the story. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. And yeah, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And that's all I got, Clayton. My God.
God, you said it all, Pat.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything left to say.
Nope. I gotta go now.
Except for until next time.
We'll smell you at the box office.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.